negatively affected Penn State's reputation. Here's Collette in defense of why Paterno should not have been fired. He had negative media exposure, and there were unclear mandated child reports. My first argument is that the media used Paterno as a media outlet. Over the past month, there has been an alarming public outcry due to the inappropriate actions of former Penn State football coach Jerry Sandusky. One would assume that the media's focus would be on this sexual predator, but in reality, the infamous Joe Paterno has suffered negative image portrayal and slander. In an article, Media Chose the Wrong Penn State Story by O'Neill, 2011, stated, "Let's be clear, Paterno is not the issue here. In fact, given the shocking nature of these alleged acts, Paterno's involvement is largely irrelevant. The attention should be on the victims and the children who have been distraught to many of these incidences with Sandusky. People put their focus on Paterno rather than the actual suspects because focusing on the alleged perpetrator would not sell newspapers or draw eyes to the newscasts, like Paterno could. Students disgruntled by unfair coverage of Paterno by Cohen 2011 feels the media worked to create controversial angles that would sell instead of focusing on the victims and what needs to be done to help them. If Penn State, which was coached by a no-name, would the media still cover the story so much in detail? What Paterno has done for Penn State is being overlooked. He has had 409 wins and 2 national championships, along with all his dedication and donation given back to the school. His name was even scratched off of the Stag Paterno Championship trophy. There is no relevance as to why Paterno has taken the fault for this scandal. My second argument is that the mandated reporting laws were not clear in the state of Pennsylvania. In the Pennsylvania Code, effective in 2001, regarding the Pennsylvania mandating laws, states, board regulated who are staff members of a medical or other public or private institution, school, facility, or agent, and who in the course of their employment, occupation, or practice of their profession come into contact with children shall immediately notify the person in charge of the institution, school, facility, or agency, or designated agent of the person in charge when they have reasonable cause to suspect that a child coming before them in their professional or official capacity is a victim of child abuse. The person in charge or the designated agent shall assume the responsibility and have legal obligation to report or cause a report. From Joe Paterno and the Pennsylvania Pass the Buck Law by Kriebel 2011 states that Paterno did follow the Pennsylvania law by taking the responsibility and passing on this information along to the higher authorities, and that being his supervisor currently. By the law of Pennsylvania, the rightful thing to do is to mandate that personnel to pass suspected abuse information to their superiors. This distinction in Pennsylvania's reporting laws creates a sort of gray area. Paterno by law was not required to go straight to police. Many mandated reporting laws do not cover higher institutions, such as universities, which gives these teachers and coaches confusion on what is and what is not lawfully right to do. In the state of Pennsylvania, Paterno was faithful to the mandating reporting laws and reporting the incident to the proper superior, so Curley, Schultz, and Spanier are to be rightfully wrong. My third argument is that Joe was blindsided by Sandusky's dark side because Paterno had such a close relationship with Sandusky. Blame for the Penn State scandal does not lie with Joe Paterno. By Jenkins, 2011, discussed this case with a former FBI agent, Ken Lanning, who has had 35 years of experience profiling pedophiles, states as follows. It's hard to identify those people close to you as a potential molester because you know them so well. If we look at it through Paterno's eyes, he saw Sandusky as a friend, a close colleague, and a churchy do-gooder, not as a dirty old man. Paterno was in the worst position to see or judge the alleged behavior because Sandusky was his valued assistant from 1966 to 1999. It's hard to identify those people close to you as a potential molester because you know them so well. Judging by Paterno's character, it seems as though he did not get into any of his coaches' personal lives and didn't bother to know what was going on outside of direct contact with Paterno. The coaches' lives, including Sandusky's, were shielded from him. What did Joe Paterno know and when did he know it? By Euler, 2011, states, it is hard to distinguish what Paterno knew during the time up until 1977. So making Paterno guilty at this time is premature but also reckless and immoral. Penn State's Board of Trustees fired Paterno too abruptly without any evidence behind Paterno's case. They not only fired him before he could tell his side of the story, they actually shut him up by canceling his scheduled press conference, which is where he intended to address the scandal.
Thank you, Colette, for providing facts as to why Joe Paterno should not have been fired. Next, we will have Lauren and Colette cross-examine one another.
Do you think that firing Paterno has a negative effect on the Penn State players and the football program?
As I stated in my harms, the issue here is not the football players, it's actually the football program is the big picture, and Paterno lacked ethical and moral decision-making when it came to taking action against sexual predator Sandusky. Firing Paterno is the only way to send a clear message to the students, staff, and citizens around the nation that child sexual abuse or any sexual abuse is not to be tolerated in school or campus or locker rooms or anywhere. How are reporting laws about criminal offenses against children unclear?
Also, as I stated before, according to the Pennsylvania Code, the person in charge or the designated agent shall assume the responsibility and have legal obligation to report or cause a report. This means that Paterno notified the person in charge and was following the law regardless of if you reported it to authorities.
Do you think that firing Paterno was a better option? Go ahead.
Yes, firing Paterno is the only option Penn State had. Allowing him to retire. You're right. Why would firing Paterno be a better option than allowing him to retire with dignity?
As I said in my solvency, firing Paterno is the only option in Penn State, and allowing him to retire would only give him the satisfaction of completing his 60th year of coaching. This is not an honor of a man of this character should receive, but Paterno was ethically and morally wrong. He did the absolute bare minimum to protect these innocent young boys, and allowing Paterno to peacefully retire would only give him the upper hand in this situation, which is acceptable only given certain circumstances. You said that Paterno was blindsided because of his close relationship. Next, we have Brett stressing that the termination of Joe Paterno was justified. He will be responding in defense to Colette's media's influence, reporting laws, and Paterno's relationship with Sandusky.